Well, welcome to Lesson 3 in our Mentor Training Series. Now, we've been talking through this image right here. I'm going to put that up again. We've talked in the first lesson about the inviting phase of mentoring. And then in the last lesson, we talked about investing in someone and how to do that with the tools and the flex method. And in this last lesson, we're going to talk about this third phase, the empowering phase of mentoring. And Ross, let's just start with this. Remember, we want to keep literally the big picture in mind, the picture they were just looking at. Yeah. What is it that when we're discipling someone, what's the product we're after? What are we trying to create?
Yeah, we're trying to create a fully formed disciple. Mm-hmm. Jesus said, make disciples, and training them to do everything I've called them to do.
Right.
So that means someone who is also making disciples. We call that going full circle.
Right.
That's the end goal.
Right. And it's in our foundation series. And it's what? Number one, we want to help them to trust Jesus.
Right. That's the starting point.
Right. So as you're discipling someone, at some point, you're going to help them. If they haven't already trusted Jesus, at some point, you're going to help get to that topic. Right. The second thing is you want to help them to honor God in their life as a follower of Jesus. Right. And then the third thing you want to help them to do is really what this is about, is you want to empower them to be a disciple maker.
Right.
Because Jesus' brand of Christianity, this is really important to us. This is what our resources are all about. Jesus' brand of Christianity, we think that Jesus envisioned followers who made followers. We don't think that Jesus is happy with churches filled with consumer Christians who go to church, listen to a sermon, maybe even take some notes, maybe read a Christian book every once in a while, listen to Christian radio, but that's all they ever do. Because we think that's someone who hasn't really accomplished the purpose Jesus wants for them.
Right, or even Christians who are doing good things. They're serving in the structure of the church, or they're giving and so forth. And that's awesome, but it's not the full picture that Jesus had in mind.
Right. And so that's why this third leg of the loop, the empowering phase, is so important. Because, try to track with us here on this. We believe, and our desire with our resources is to get everyone going through this series to become a disciple maker. Right. In other words, we don't want you to feel like you have to send someone through, the PursueGOD studio or some official training course to empower the person that you're discipling to go disciple the next person. We've set up our tools so that you, if you're watching this as a follower of Jesus, not only can you get trained to make disciples, but actually, you can use this resource, this series itself, to make a disciple maker. In other words, you have the power. Pastor Ross, is this true? That the average Christian has the authority to make someone into a disciple maker?
Right, not just the authority, but the mandate.
Yeah.
So we've taken in our culture and put that on the shoulders of the professionals.
Right.
That's not what Jesus had in mind. There were no professionals at the beginning.
Yeah, that's right. So what I love about this is Kenzie, a high school senior, you're discipling a bunch of freshmen and sophomores, and you have the authority and the mandate to help those girls not just trust Jesus and honor God, but you can actually, and you're doing this, raise them up and release them and empower them to go help the next person. And that's the third part of the disciple-making journey is you invite someone into a relationship. This is exactly what Jesus did, right? You invest in them for a while, and then after you've invested in them and they become a full circle follower of Jesus, you empower them to go out and invite the next person, right? And so that's the goal, is we want everyone to feel empowered to empower the next person, and that's why we call this third phase the empowering phase. But there are 5 sort of steps in this phase that we want to talk through right now, because in essence, that's really the phase that you're in right now. If you're taking this series at church or with a mentor or a small group, you're in the empowering phase, right? And there are 5 things that you're going to do in these next several months. And the first thing is train. You're going to go through this training series. And you're almost done, right? And you went through this training series. In fact, I want to put that image back up there, because you noticed in the last lesson we said to get from the inviting phase to the investing phase, you had to use start pages on our site. Well, to get from the investing phase to the empowering phase, you're going to want to use the training page on our site, right? So that's how you got to this series, is you go to PursueGOD.org and you go to the training menu item, and that's where you find this series and all kinds of other training resources, right? So I know that was kind of a boring little segment right there, but it's important, I think, to articulate that so people know where to find the tools so they can do it with the next person.
Right, and we're not asking anybody to do it just to make it up.
Right.
We want to train them how to do it.
Right.
Yeah. So it starts with that first thing is that training series that we're just now finishing up, okay? Second phase, and Tracy, this is one that you've really helped us understand. The second phase is to practice.
Right.
Describe
Yeah, I think
that.
that's really important within training to allow your mentee to practice leading topics in the relationship with you where it's safe, where you guys are comfortable, to empower them to start, you lead the topic, you choose the topic, you lead it, you lead through the questions and then can talk through, if something was a little bit awkward or, they got stuck and kind of freaked out a little bit, talk through it. But I think practicing is really important. And I do that with every person before, as I'm in the empowering phase. Practice is something that we do for probably a couple months even, just to make sure so that when I make a handoff and say, okay, so you're gonna go now help this next person, they really know what they feel comfortable with what is expected of them.
Yeah, the structure,
Yes.
how the flex method works, how the start pages work, all that.
Yeah.
Kenzie, do you practice with your girls?
Oh yeah, my girls and I have been practicing for probably about a year now, just because they haven't quite felt like they're ready, but so we'll just kind of like switch off. So one week it'll be one girl, the next week it'll be the next girl, and they'll just send out a topic to us, and then they'll come and they'll lead it. And I think it'll be really helpful for them when it comes for them to start their own group, that they know exactly what they're supposed to do.
Right.
So in those conversations, you become the participant,
Yeah.
they become the mentor. That's great.
Yeah.
Ross, for you, do men need practice?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's surprising how men who have mastered some field in their vocation can do amazing things, and they can, manage millions of dollars and hundreds of employees that feel like they can't do
Can't
this.
do it, I know.
Right.
It's true.
So
Yeah.
practice helps them gain not only the skill but the confidence.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so the third step then in this empowering phase is to encourage someone. Why is that so important that it deserves one of our 5 steps in this phase?
Well, we said the whole thing is about relationship. We're inviting people into a relationship. That doesn't change at this point.
Yeah.
We're still in relationship with them. And so you know that a person is going to have fears. Like Kenzie mentioned, the girls don't feel like they're ready, so they're going to have fears. We said it's messy to make an invitation, and so people need someone to help kind of walk them through so they don't give up.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I've had to encourage some women along. They'll be like, well, I've texted her 3 times and she hasn't responded. Do I just give up? And, just kind of encouraging along the way. Or, they keep canceling. We make an appointment and then they cancel on me. And just kind of walking through that, encouraging them through that.
Yeah, it's easy to give up on mentoring too soon.
Yeah.
And that, to me, that's a shame. And that's exactly what Satan wants. He wants us to give up on it, to just quit because we're not good at it or whatever. But that's why that encouragement from the mentor, from your coach, from your trainer, from your parents. Kenzie, we encouraged you over the years to keep doing it. There were probably some times where you're like, I don't want to do this. Or half of the girls didn't show up. And we're just like, don't give up on it. Don't give up on it. So parents, if you want your students to be disciple makers, you're going to have to encourage them. Because they're going to give up on it just like they're going to give up on sports. They're going to give up on studying or whatever. Right?
And here's the thing, too. Once a person has had a successful experience discipling somebody else, that's a game changer. They'll never go back. And once you've had a successful experience empowering somebody else, that's also a game changer. You'll never go back.
That's good.
That's true.
That's good. All right, the 4th step then in the empowering phase. So the first one was train. The second one is practice. The third one is encourage. And the 4th one is mobilize. What does it mean to mobilize the person that you're training? How does that look?
Well, to me, I need to help them maybe go back to that list we made in that first lesson and think about those people they had on the list and help them identify who could you invite and kind of help them take the actual step, like hold their hand to the next person.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes it might be helping them find someone, that they can mentor in their life.
Yeah, I've done that with a lot of my guys. Maybe they had their own little personal list, but they struck out on everyone on that list. And maybe they just don't have very many friends, I don't know. But I said, hey, listen, I've got a guy over here that I know. Can I connect you? We call that the handoff. And so I kind of connect this person to the person I've trained because I think that they'll do well together.
Yeah.
And a lot of times those work out really nicely, even though they didn't have a previous relationship, because there's just a little bit of credibility. I'm doing the connecting, right?
Yeah.
In churches, if you're in a church and you use the resources, maybe your pastor can connect you with someone, or a ministry leader or your small group leader can connect you with someone who really needs the help. So I think once you start realizing that everyone could use a mentor, then you realize that really the question isn't who can I put on my list? The question is who can I really focus on this massive list of people that could use the help.
Right. Yeah.
That's good. So that's mobilizing, and remember, if you don't mobilize them, then really you never.
It likely will not go anywhere.
That's right.
The last thing you want is for them to have a failure experience
Yeah.
that closes their heart to disciple making forever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've made that mistake where I've brought people through training. I'm like, you're ready to be a mentor, and then I don't help them mobilize, and then it just kind of goes away. It's just information in their mind,
Yes.
but they aren't doing anything with it.
And they don't feel great about it. They feel incomplete. It just feels awkward.
Yeah.
And so it really does take just kind of this, hey, let's do this. Let me help you do this. I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to help you get mobilized and get out there. And don't worry if it doesn't work the first couple of times. Like, let's not give up on this.
Right.
That's mobilization is so important. So then the fifth step in the empowering phase is what we call follow-up, right? So Ross, what follow-up is for someone who's been mobilized, right?
Right.
What does follow-up look like if someone's in a successful mentoring relationship?
Well, a couple things. Number one is, so I maybe have been meeting with that person regularly as I've been mentoring them, but now that I've released them, empowered them to mentor somebody else, I'm going to back off. We don't have to meet all the time because now they need time to meet with that other person.
Right.
But I don't just drop them. I'm going to come alongside, kind of keep in touch, see how it's going, encourage them along the way, maybe just less frequently.
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So if you're taking this series, you're done now, right? This was the last lesson. You understood the loop, but you're not done, because really what you've done is you've done that first thing is you've finished the training. So now it's time to practice. It's time to be encouraged. At some point, you're going to get mobilized, and then once you get out there and start mentoring, the person that's trained you is going to want to follow up with you and encourage you and continue to walk with you as you walk with more people and help them pursue God. So that sort of officially ends this series, but we encourage you to check out the other resources, the other training. There's all kinds of additional training topics on the training page at PursueGOD.org. And also don't forget that there's a training page at flextalk.org as well, so that you can bring these resources in your community and start helping people who are far from God to pursue God. So don't give up on it. Use the questions below to talk about this last phase of disciple making, and go out and help people pursue God.